Caleb announced in front of both our families that Lila Monroe would be taking the college seat I had earned. Then he reached for my hand under the dinner table, as if stealing my future was something I should help him hide. I looked at his fingers, then at the forged withdrawal email on my phone, and quietly turned on the screen recorder. "You're being dramatic," his mother said. I smiled without warmth. "No," I said, "I'm being careful." The dining room of the Whitmore estate was designed to make people feel small. High ceilings, tall windows, dark portraits of dead men who had passed down money, companies, and arrogance like family heirlooms. I had sat at that table many times before, always trying to be grateful that the Whitmores had accepted me, grateful that Caleb loved me, grateful that I had been invited into a world where people used the word opportunity only when they meant control. That night, I finally understood they had never accepted me, they had only been using me until I became inconvenient. Caleb's mother, Diana Whitmore, sat at the head of the table in a silk blouse the color of champagne. She looked at me the way people looked at a stain on a white rug. "Evelyn," she said, "this family has invested a great deal in you. I hope you understand that this is not the time for selfish behavior." I stared at her. "Selfish?" Caleb's grip tightened under the table. "Evie," he murmured, low enough for only me to hear, "don't do this." Across from us, Lila Monroe lowered her eyes. Her hand rested lightly beside her wineglass. On her wrist was the thin gold bracelet Caleb had told me he bought for a charity auction. I remembered laughing when he said that, because Caleb always hated charity auctions. He said they made rich people pretend to have souls. Now I knew where the bracelet had gone. Lila looked delicate in a pale blue dress, soft brown hair falling over one shoulder. She was the kind of woman people rushed to protect because she always looked close to tears. Even now, after taking my place, she sat as if she were the injured one. "I never wanted to hurt you," she whispered. My laugh came out quiet. "No, you just wanted my future." Richard Whitmore, Caleb's father, set down his fork. The small sound cut through the room. "Enough," he said. "That program seat was not a possession, it was an opportunity. Lila is better suited for it." The blood in my body seemed to cool. The seat was at Harrington College's Global Leadership Program, one of the most competitive undergraduate tracks in the country. I had spent 3 years building the application, debate championships, volunteer research, financial policy essays, interviews, recommendation letters, a perfect academic record. I had stayed up until 3 in the morning filling out scholarship forms because my father's education fund, though carefully saved, would not cover everything, and last week, the admissions office had called me not to congratulate me, to ask why I had withdrawn. I still remembered the woman's voice, polite, confused, careful. "MS. Hart, we received your withdrawal notice from your registered email." I didn't withdraw. There had been a pause. "Then you may want to come in." I had gone that afternoon. The admissions officer, MS. Alvarez, printed the email and placed it in front of me. It had my name, my student ID, my registered email, my digital signature. It said I was giving up my seat due to personal priorities and upcoming marital commitments. Marital commitments. I had stared at those words until they blurred. The email had been sent at 9:17 p.m. on April 12. At 9:17 p.m. on April 12th, I had been sitting beside Caleb at a Whitmore donor dinner, smiling while his mother introduced me as a sensible girl who understands family duty. My phone had been in Caleb's jacket pocket because mine had died. My laptop had been at his apartment. My password was saved because I trusted him. I had not cried in the admissions office. I had asked for copies. MS. Alvarez had looked at me for a long time, then quietly printed everything she could legally give me. Now those papers were in my bag under the table, beside my phone, which was recording every word. Caleb leaned closer. "Evie, please, we can talk about this later." I turned to him. "Did you send the email?" His face tightened. Nobody at the table moved. Lila's eyes filled with tears. Diana said, "That question is beneath you." I did not look away from Caleb. "Did you send it?" His jaw flexed. "I helped fix a situation." The room went so still I could hear the ice shift in Diana's water glass. "A situation," I repeated. Caleb exhaled sharply. "You were overwhelmed. You kept saying you didn't know how you'd handle college, the wedding, my family, everything. Lila had no safety net. She needed that program. You have me." There it was, the whole ugly truth. dressed up as concern. You have me, as if he were compensation for my stolen work, as if marrying into his family was supposed to be my reward for losing myself. I pulled my hand away from his fingers closed on air. You forged my withdrawal. He flinched, but only for a second. I made a choice for us. No, I said, you made a choice for her. Lila shook her head quickly. Evelyn, please don't make it sound like that. Caleb only wanted to help. I told him not to do anything that would upset you. Did you use my seat? She swallowed. Diana cut in. Lila has accepted the offer. The matter is settled. Settled, such a neat word. For theft. Richard looked impatient. Evelyn, you are engaged to my son. Your future is secure. There is no need to chase every personal ambition. The Whitmore Foundation needs a future daughter-in-law with grace, not one who makes scenes. I looked around the table. My mother sat near the far end, silent, twisting her napkin in her lap. She had been dazzled by the Whitmores from the beginning. My father had died when I was 16, leaving behind a modest house, a careful education fund, and one sentence I had carried like a promise: never let anyone make your world smaller so theirs feels bigger. My mother had forgotten that, or maybe she had never believed it. Diana picked up her wineglass. You will release a statement tomorrow, she said, something simple. You decided to focus on your engagement and future family. Lila will not be dragged into gossip. I reached into my bag and touched the folder. Caleb noticed. What is that? Copies, I said, his eyes sharpened. Copies of what? The withdrawal email, login records, admissions notes. For the first time, Lila stopped looking fragile. Richard's voice hardened. Where did you get those? From the office that noticed something was wrong before any of you thought I would. Diana's mouth thinned. You went to admissions? Yes, without speaking to us first. I almost smiled. You stole my college seat. And you're upset I asked the college about it. Caleb pushed back his chair slightly. Evie, you don't understand the bigger picture. My father's company is closing $1 billion partnership this summer. The family image matters right now. If you start making accusations, if I tell the truth, I corrected. If you act out, he snapped, then caught himself. His voice softened. You could hurt everyone. I looked at him, really looked. The boy I had loved at 17 was gone. Maybe he had never existed. Maybe I had built him from gestures, apologies, late-night promises, and my own hunger to be chosen. Now he was a man who could steal my future and still ask me to protect his. I stood. My mother whispered, Evelyn, sit down. I did not. Diana's eyes flashed. Do not embarrass this family. I picked up my phone and stopped the recording. I think you've done that already. Caleb rose too. Where are you going? To find out what else you took. His face changed, just slightly. Fear moved behind his eyes. Good. At the doorway, Lila spoke. You won't get it back, she said softly. I turned. Her tears were gone. The room finally saw what I had seen from the beginning. Not the whole truth, but the edge of it. Lila lifted her chin. The deadline passed. The program accepted me. Caleb said you'd understand. Caleb closed his eyes. I looked at him one last time. You were right about one thing, I said. I understand now. Then I walked out of the Whitmore dining room with my future stolen, my engagement cracking, and the first piece of evidence saved in my phone behind me. Caleb called my name. I did not stop. By the time I reached the driveway, my hands were shaking, not from weakness, from restraint. The night air was cold. The estate lights glowed behind me like a stage set for people who had mistaken money for morality. I opened my email. At the top was a message I had been too afraid to open all day. Harvard College admissions. My thumb hovered over it for 1 second. I heard Caleb's voice in my head. You have me. Then I heard my father's. Never let anyone make your world smaller. I opened the email. The first word on the screen was congratulations. I did not scream when I saw Harvard's acceptance letter. I did not collapse in the driveway. I did not call Caleb. I did not call my mother. I stood under the cold white light beside the Whitmore fountain and read the email 3 times, slowly, until every word settled into my bones. Congratulations, Evelyn Hart. The stolen seat at Harrington had been my dream because I thought it was the best door I could reach. Harvard was the door I had applied to in secret because some part of me, buried under years of compromise, still wanted proof that I could be bigger than the life Caleb's family had planned for me. I had not told him about the application at first. It was because I was afraid of disappointing him if I failed. Later, if I was honest, it was because I was afraid of what he would say if I succeeded. Now I knew. He would have found a way to make my success inconvenient. My phone buzzed. Caleb. I let it ring, then Diana, then my mother, then Caleb again. I took screenshots of the Harvard email. I saved them to cloud storage. I forwarded the message to the private account Caleb did not know existed. Then I locked my phone, got into my car, and drove away from the estate without looking back. The apartment Caleb and I shared was not really ours. It belonged to Whitmore Holdings. Like most things in Caleb's life, the furniture had been chosen by Diana, the artwork had been chosen by a decorator, even the engagement photos on the console table had been approved by his mother before she allowed them to be posted. I unlocked the door and stood in the entryway. Everything looked expensive, nothing felt like mine. My laptop sat on the kitchen island. I opened it, changed every password, logged out of every shared device, and checked the security activity on my email account. There it was, a login from Caleb's apartment at 9:12 p.m. on April 12th, a document access at 9:14, the withdrawal email sent at 9:17. My stomach turned, but my hands stayed steady. I took screenshots, downloaded logs, exported account activity, sent everything to the private email. Then I opened the shared banking app. For 3 years, I had been transferring money into Caleb's temporary personal account, small amounts at first, then larger ones. He always had an explanation: a delayed trust distribution, a campaign expense for the foundation, a private investment he did not want his father watching. I had believed him because rich men were supposed to have complicated money. Now I saw the pattern clearly: dinners with Lila, jewelry stores, hotel charges in Boston, a weekend resort during the week. He told me he was visiting a supplier in Chicago. I downloaded the statements until my eyes burned. At 1:06 a.m., Caleb came home. He looked furious until he saw me sitting at the kitchen island. Then he tried sorrow. Evie, he said softly. I closed the laptop halfway. You should have stayed at your parents' house. He continued. Everyone is upset. Good. He walked closer, removing his coat. You don't mean that. I do. He stopped. On the other side of the island, for the first time, there was a physical barrier between us that matched the emotional one. You opened the Harvard email, he said. So someone had told him, or he had checked the account before I changed the password. I smiled faintly. You tried to steal one school from me. Did you want the whole list? His expression tightened. I didn't steal anything. You forged my withdrawal. I used your account because you wouldn't have made the practical choice. The practical choice for whom? For us, he said, too quickly. For our future. Our future did not require Lila wearing my opportunity around her neck. He rubbed his forehead. She was drowning, so you pushed me under. He looked hurt, which almost made me laugh. Don't twist this. You know what Lila has been through. I know what she told you. She doesn't have your strength. No, I said. She had my seat. Caleb's jaw hardened. You got into Harvard. Why are you still acting like something was taken from you? That sentence told me everything. He thought the crime disappeared because I had survived it. I stood slowly. Because you did not know about Harvard when you stole from me. He said nothing. You thought Harrington was all I had. You thought if you gave it to her, I would cry, forgive you, and still marry you. His eyes flickered. I leaned both hands on the island. That is the part one will never forget. For a moment, silence filled the apartment. Then Caleb reached into his jacket and pulled out a small velvet box. My engagement ring. I had left it on the table at dinner. I had not even realized. He placed it between us. My mother is planning a brunch tomorrow with the partnership committee, he said. We need to appear united. I looked at the ring. It had once made me dizzy with happiness. A 5-carat diamond in a vintage setting. Too large for my hand, too loud for my taste. Caleb had chosen it because Diana said smaller stones looked apologetic. Now it looked like a tiny shackle. I'm not going. His face lost softness. You are. I lifted my eyes. No, Evie, my family is days away from finalizing the Archer Global Partnership. Do you understand what one scandal could do? Yes, you're angry. Fine, be angry privately. But tomorrow you will stand beside me because that is what partners do. Partners don't forge each other's signatures. It was an email. It was my name. His voice dropped. You need to be very careful right now. I stared at him. There he was, not the apologetic fiancé, not the tortured man helping a helpless girl, not the boy who once sat with me in a hospital waiting room after my father died. A Whitmore, polished, threatened, and trained to protect the family machine. Is that a warning? I asked, his nostrils flared. It's reality. I picked up the ring box and opened it. The diamond flashed under the kitchen lights, then I closed it and slid it back to him. No, I said, reality is that you needed me quiet because your family's billion-dollar deal depends on looking ethical. Reality is that your mistress is walking around with a stolen admission while you call it compassion. Reality is that I have copies. His eyes sharpened. What copies? I picked up my laptop. Enough to make tomorrow interesting. I walked toward the bedroom. Caleb followed. You're not taking this too far. I turned at the door. You already did. Inside the bedroom, I locked the door and packed one suitcase. Not everything. Just what mattered. Passport, birth certificate, father's letters, education fund documents, my old debate medals, the navy dress I had bought with my own money for interviews, the laptop from the closet. I took down the garment bag containing my engagement brunch dress, pale cream, Diana's choice. I left it hanging on the closet door, then I changed into jeans and a sweater, opened the window, and called a rideshare from the back entrance. By the time Caleb realized I had left, I was already in the car, my phone filled with messages. Caleb, come back. Caleb, we need to talk. Caleb, do not make this public. Diana, you are behaving beneath your upbringing. My mother, please don't ruin your chance with this family. Lila, I'm sorry you're hurting. I hope someday you understand. I stared at Lila's message for a long time, then I typed one sentence. I understand perfectly. I did not send it. I screenshot it, saved it, and blocked her. At 3:42 a.m., I checked into a small hotel near Mrs. Grant's office. I slept for 2 hours. At 8:00 a.m., I walked into my old mentor's office with a folder, a laptop, and the beginning of a war Caleb still thought was a tantrum. Mrs. Grant looked up from her desk and froze. Evelyn, I placed the folder in front of her. I need help proving someone stole my college seat. Mrs. Grant did not ask if I was sure. That was one of the reasons I trusted her. She had been my debate coach, my college counselor, and, after my father died, one of the only adults who spoke to me like grief had not made me fragile or stupid. She had watched me build my applications piece by piece. She knew how badly I wanted Harrington. She also knew I would rather fail honestly than win by taking someone else's place. So when I told her Caleb had used my account to withdraw my acceptance, she simply closed her office door. Show me everything, she said. I opened my laptop. The next 2 hours were not emotional. That helped. Emotion could come later. For now, there were timestamps, IP addresses, email headers, saved PDFs, scholarship forms, and digital signatures. Mrs. Grant made tea neither of us drank. She printed every page twice. One copy for me, one copy for the attorney she insisted I call before noon. When she reached the login record from Caleb's apartment, her mouth tightened. He had access to your passwords. Yes, because you gave them to him. Because I trusted him. She looked at me over her glasses. Those are not the same thing. I looked down. The sentence landed harder than I expected. Trust was something offered between equals. What I had given Caleb was access without boundaries. He had called it intimacy. I had mistaken it for love. Mrs. Grant moved to the next document. Here's your original Harrington acceptance. Yes, here is the withdrawal. Yes, here is Lila Monroe's late admission confirmation. Do you know how she entered the process? No, Mrs. Grant clicked through her school archive. She was not on the early finalist list. I remember because Harrington asked us to confirm all students from our district who were still under consideration. Your name was there, hers was not. A cold thread pulled through me. So she couldn't have received the seat unless someone opened one, or created pressure after one opened. Whitmore pressure. Mrs. Grant did not answer directly. Instead, she printed another page. Richard Whitmore sits on Harrington's donor advisory board. I stared at the page. Of course he did. The Whitmores did not ask doors to open. They bought the building, renamed the hallway, and acted surprised when everyone stepped aside. Mrs. Grant highlighted Richard's name. This matters, she said, but we need to be precise. Powerful families survive accusations. They do not always survive documentation. I have Caleb's admission. Her eyes lifted. You recorded him. Yes, good. I also have bank statements, related to the admission, not directly, related to Lila. She leaned back. I showed her the transactions, jewelry, hotels, dinners, payments disguised as event reimbursements, one transfer to a private tutoring service that matched Lila's neighborhood, Another to something called Monroe Consulting, Mrs. Grant's expression changed. Evelyn, I know, no, she said gently. I don't think you do. This is not just a cheating fiancé doing something cruel. If family money, donor influence, and falsified academic records are involved, this could become legal very quickly. That's why I came. She nodded. I know an attorney, Miles Reed. She blinked. How? Did you know? My father mentioned him once. He helped set up the education fund. At the mention of my father, the room seemed to shift. Mrs. Grant's face softened. Your father was careful. He had to be. He loved you very much, I know. But my voice broke on the second word. I hated that. I had managed dinner. Caleb, Diana, Lila, Harvard, the hotel, the documents, but one kind sentence about my father almost undid me. Mrs. Grant came around the desk and placed a hand on my shoulder. Then, let's be careful too. By noon, I was sitting in Miles Reed's office downtown. He was not what I expected. I remembered him vaguely from my father's funeral as a tall man in a dark suit who spoke quietly and stood near the back. Now, years later, he had more gray in his hair and the same calm eyes. He read everything without interrupting. That also helped. When he finished, he tapped the withdrawal email. This is bad. I almost laughed. Legally bad or morally bad? Both. But legally, it depends on proof of access, intent, and damages. They'll say I got into Harvard. So there are no damages. His mouth flattened. People who steal cars do not become innocent because the victim later buys a better one. For the first time in 2 days, I breathed easier. Miles continued. We should preserve all digital evidence immediately. Do not alter anything. Do not confront them without recording where legally permitted. Do not threaten. Do not post online. Do not negotiate alone. I'm supposed to attend a Whitmore brunch today. Are you going? No. Good. They'll come after me. Yes, he said it plainly, not to scare me, but to make sure I was awake. I appreciated that. Miles opened another folder. Now, about your father's education fund. I straightened. What about it? Your father structured it through Hart Educational Trust. It was small compared to institutional foundations, but very clean. After his death, the trust continued funding student access programs. Over the last 2 years, Whitmore Foundation partnered with Hart Educational Trust on several public initiatives. I know. Diana said it helped the family's image. It did more than that. Miles slid a document across the desk. At the top was the logo for Archer Global. I knew the name. Everyone did. Archer Global was a massive education technology and infrastructure company. The Whitmores had been pursuing them for months. Archer's billion-dollar partnership with Whitmore Holdings includes a social responsibility compliance section. Miles said. The Hart Educational Trust was named as an independent ethics partner. I stared at the page. My father's trust. Yes, I never signed that. No, you signed a preliminary support acknowledgement last year for a scholarship event. Broad language. Too broad, frankly. They appear to be using it as part of a larger credibility package. My pulse slowed in a dangerous way. They used my name, your father's trust, and your academic story. I remembered Diana asking me to speak at the foundation gala, Caleb holding my hand backstage, Richard calling me proof that access changes lives. I had thought they were proud of me. They were branding me. Miles turned another page. If the trust withdraws support, Archer will have to review the partnership. If the withdrawal is tied to ethical misconduct concerning admissions manipulation, the review becomes serious. How serious? For $1 billion deal. Serious enough that Whitmore will panic. I looked at the Archer logo until the letters blurred. Caleb had stolen my college seat for Lila. His family had used my father's name to polish $1 billion deal, and they expected me to wear a cream dress and smile. Miles folded his hands. Evelyn, I need to ask you something. What outcome do you want? The question stunned me, not because I did not know, because nobody had asked me that in years. Caleb asked what I could tolerate. Diana asked what I could represent. My mother asked what I could preserve. Nobody asked what I wanted. I looked at the withdrawal email, then at the trust document, then at Harvard's acceptance letter printed beside them like a quiet miracle. I want my name back, I said. My father's name too. Miles nodded once. Then we begin there. My phone rang. Caleb, I watched it until it stopped. A voicemail appeared. Miles raised an eyebrow. I played it on speaker. Caleb's voice filled the office, low and controlled. Evie, this has gone far enough. My mother is embarrassed. Lila is crying, and my father is asking questions. You need to come home. Before you damage something you don't understand. I love you, but I won't let you destroy my family over a misunderstanding." The voicemail ended. Miles looked at me. "Save that." I already did. Then a new message arrived from Caleb. "Don't force me to choose between you and my family." I stared at it. He still thought that sentence had power. He did not realize he had already chosen. I forwarded the message to Miles, then I replied to Caleb with one line, "You chose when you signed my name." Caleb did not respond for 23 minutes. That was how I knew he was angry. Caleb replied quickly when he was charming, slowly when he was calculating, and not at all when he wanted me to suffer. For years, I had studied those patterns the way other women studied weather before leaving the house at 1:14 p.m. My phone lit up. "You're making this uglier than it has to be." I almost answered, then I remembered Miles's instruction, "Do not negotiate alone." I placed the phone face down. Miles was already working. His assistant, June, scanned every document into a secure file. Mrs. Grant emailed a statement confirming the timeline of my application and the unusual withdrawal. Ms. Alvarez from Harrington could not take sides, but she sent an official note confirming that my withdrawal had been received digitally and that I had disputed it in person. Evidence did not heal heartbreak, but it gave heartbreak a spine. By late afternoon, Miles had drafted 3 letters, one to Harrington College requesting an immediate investigation into unauthorized withdrawal and replacement admission, one to Whitmore Holdings demanding preservation of all communications involving my name, my admission, Lila Monroe, and Hart Educational Trust, one to Archer Global's compliance office stating that Hart Educational Trust was reviewing its support due to possible misrepresentation. I read the third letter twice. It did not shout, it did not threaten, it simply opened a door the Whitmores desperately needed to keep closed. "Sending this will escalate matters," Miles said. I looked at the signature line. Good. He watched me sign. My hand did not shake. Afterward, I walked alone to a coffee shop 3 blocks away. I needed noise that did not belong to the Whitmores, a grinder roaring, cups clinking, students arguing about group projects. Normal life. I sat by the window and opened the Harvard email again. There was a portal link. I logged in. The acceptance letter appeared in full. "Dear Evelyn Hart, the admissions committee has carefully reviewed your application, and it is our great pleasure to offer you admission to Harvard College." I read it slowly, not because I doubted it, because I wanted to let myself have it. For years, I had trimmed my dreams so they would fit around Caleb, when he stayed in New York for family business. I applied nearby. When Diana said long-distance engagements were immature, I chose programs she approved of. When Richard hinted that my public story would be useful for Whitmore Foundation, I gave speeches about opportunity while ignoring how often they asked me to be smaller. Harvard had been the application I submitted at midnight without telling anyone. My father's old fountain pen had sat beside my laptop. The essay prompt had asked about a choice that shaped me. I wrote about the day my father died and left me a folder labeled "For every door they say is not yours." Inside were savings records, scholarship brochures, and a handwritten note, "Evelyn, you do not owe anyone a smaller life." I had cried while writing the essay. Then I had closed the laptop and gone to Caleb's apartment, where he complained that I had missed dinner with his parents. Now Harvard had answered, not Caleb, not Diana, not the stolen seat. Me. A shadow fell across my table. I looked up. My mother stood there, breathless, clutching her purse. For one irrational second, I wanted her to hug me. Instead, she sat down and said, "What have you done?" I closed the laptop. "Hello to you too. Diana called me. She said you walked out, accused Caleb, and hired a lawyer." All true. Her face went pale. "Evelyn, Mom, you can't fight people like the Whitmores. I can fight people who use my name." She leaned across the table. "You're young, you're hurt, I understand, but marriage is not about winning every argument." I stared at her. "Mom, he forged my withdrawal from college." "I know that sounds terrible. It is terrible, but he did it because he thought you would still have a good life with him." The words moved through me like ice water. I saw my mother differently then, not as cruel, not exactly as afraid. She had spent years after my father died counting bills, smiling at people who pitied us, telling me not to anger anyone who offered help. When Caleb entered my life, she saw safety, a rich family, a beautiful wedding, a way for her daughter to never struggle the way she had. To her, my stolen seat was painful, But losing the Whitmores was dangerous. You think I should accept it, I said. I think you should be practical, that word. Again, Evelyn, love requires sacrifice. I leaned back. Why does everyone keep asking me to sacrifice things Caleb never would? Her eyes filled with tears. That's not fair. No, it isn't. She reached for my hand. I let her take it. Please, she whispered. Diana said if this becomes public, Caleb's family will cut ties completely. They won't support you. They won't support me. There it was, the part she had not meant to say. I gently pulled my hand away. Have they been giving you money? She froze. My stomach sank. How much? Not much, Mom. She looked toward the window. Diana helped with the house taxes last year. And some medical bills. She said it was family. Family, the Whitmores loved that word. It made every transaction sound noble. Did you know about Lila? I asked. No. Did you know about Harrington? No. I swear, I believed her. It did not make it better. They bought your silence before you knew what you were silent about. I said. My mother flinched. I didn't think of it that way. That is why they paid. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then I turned my laptop around. She saw the Harvard letter. Her lips parted. You got in? Yes. Oh, Evelyn. There was pride in her voice. Real pride. Then fear swallowed it almost immediately. Does Caleb know? Yes. What did he say? I smiled sadly. He asked why I was upset about Harrington. My mother covered her mouth at last. Something reached her. Not enough, but something. I need you to listen carefully, I said. I am not marrying Caleb. Tears spilled down her cheeks. Don't say that so quickly. It is not quick. It took me years to get here. But the wedding is over. The house was never mine. The family stole from me. She cried harder, but I did not soften the truth. I had spent too long cushioning other people from the consequences of what they did to me. My phone buzzed again. Diana, then Richard, then an unknown number. Miles texted. Whitmore Council contacted me. Do not answer calls from unknown numbers. I typed back. Understood. My mother wiped her face. What happens now? I leave the hotel tonight and stay somewhere they cannot access. I preserve evidence. I cooperate with the investigation. I go to Harvard. And Caleb. My throat tightened but my voice stayed calm. Caleb becomes someone I used to love. That evening, I returned to my hotel and found a cream envelope slipped under my door. No stamp, no return address. Inside was a printed photo of me from the Whitmore Foundation gala, smiling at a podium beside Caleb. Across the bottom, someone had written, "Careful, people only love good girls." I stared at it for a long time. Then I photographed the envelope, the handwriting, and the hallway. I sent everything to Miles. Then I placed the photo in the evidence folder. If the Whitmores wanted a good girl, they had misunderstood me completely. I had been kind, I had been patient, I had been in love, but I had never been harmless. Lila's welcome reception was held in the Harrington Alumni Hall, a room full of polished floors, glass walls, and banners about excellence. I almost did not go. Miles told me not to confront anyone unless necessary. Mrs. Grant told me protecting myself mattered more than witnessing my own replacement. My mother begged me to stay away, though she stopped short of saying it was for Caleb's sake. But I needed to see it, not because I wanted pain, because denial survives in shadows. I wanted the truth under bright lights, so I wore a black dress, low heels, and my father's watch. I pinned a tiny microphone under the fold of my jacket, legal in that setting under the advice Miles had given me. My phone was fully charged. My cloud backup was active. My face was calm. The alumni hall buzzed with laughter when I arrived. Students shook hands with donors. Parents took photos. Staff moved through the room with name tags and practiced smiles. Then I saw her. Lila stood near the center of the room with Caleb beside her. He had his hand at the small of her back. Not touching. Exactly. Not enough for scandal. Just enough for ownership. She wore white. On her blazer was the Harrington Global Leadership pin. My pin. For a second, the room narrowed around that small piece of metal. I had imagined wearing it while calling my father's old voicemail just to hear his voice. I had imagined sending Mrs. Grant a picture. I had imagined walking across that campus with proof that all the nights I worked while other people slept had mattered. Lila laughed at something Caleb said. The sound brought me back. I moved toward the refreshment table. Close enough to hear but not close enough to be obvious. A donor with silver hair smiled at Lila. "We're so pleased Harrington could make room for a student with your resilience." Lila lowered her lashes. "I'm grateful every day. Sometimes life closes a door, but the right people open another one. Caleb looked at her like she was brave. I wondered what bravery cost when purchased with someone else's future then. Lila saw me, her expression shifted, fear first, then calculation. Caleb followed her gaze, his face went still. He crossed the room quickly. "What are you doing here?" he demanded under his breath. I picked up a glass of water. "This is an academic reception. I care about academics, remember. This is not the place." "For what?" "For your anger." I looked over his shoulder at Lila. "She seems comfortable in the place my anger paid for." His mouth tightened. "You need to leave." "No, Evelyn." "Careful," I said. "People are watching." He glanced around. They were. Caleb Whitmore did not fear hurting me. He feared looking like a man who hurt women, so he smiled. It looked painful. "You're right," he said. "Let's not make this awkward." Too late. Lila approached before he could answer. Of course she did. Lila understood performance even better than Caleb did. "Evelyn," she said softly, "I didn't know you were coming. I wasn't invited." Her cheeks flushed. "I would have invited you, but I thought it might be hard, taking my place, seeing me here. Those are the same thing." Caleb stepped in. "Enough." A few heads turned. Lila touched his sleeve. "It's okay. She deserves to say what she needs to say." I almost admired her, almost. The donor with silver hair drifted closer, pretending not to listen. Lila's voice grew quieter, sweeter. "I know you think I stole something from you, but Caleb told me you were unsure. He said you wanted to focus on marriage. I never would have accepted if I thought you still wanted it." I smiled. "Did he tell you I sent the withdrawal email?" Her eyes flickered. "He said it was handled." "Handled by whom?" She looked at Caleb, he looked at me. There it was, the small gap between their lies. I let silence do the work. Lila lifted her chin. "You had other options. At the time, Caleb did not know that." Her mouth opened, then closed. I leaned slightly closer. "That's the part you keep forgetting. When he gave you my seat, he believed he was taking away the only one I had." Her softness cracked just a little. "You always act like you're better than everyone." "No, I worked like I had no one coming to save me. That is different." Her eyes hardened. "You would have wasted it." The words came out too fast. Caleb whispered, "Lila." But it was done. My microphone caught it. The silver-haired donor heard it. So did the two students behind her. Lila realized and immediately changed her face. "I didn't mean." "Yes," I said. "You did." A woman from admissions approached, concern in her eyes. "Is everything all right?" Caleb smiled. "Just a private misunderstanding." I turned to the woman. "Ms. Alvarez, I believe you have my formal dispute on file." Her eyes widened slightly, then professionalism settled over her face. "Yes, Ms. Hart." Lila paled. Caleb stared at me. "You know each other?" he asked. Ms. Alvarez looked at him. "I met Ms. Hart when she came in to report that her withdrawal may not have been authorized." The air changed, not loudly, not dramatically, but enough. The donor stopped. Pretending not to listen, Caleb's smile became rigid. "This is not appropriate," he said. Ms. Alvarez's voice remained even. "Neither is an authorized use of an applicant's account." Lila whispered. "Caleb." He did not look at her. I felt no triumph yet, only a deep, cold steadiness. This was not revenge. This was exposure. There was a difference. I set down my water glass. "I didn't come to argue," I said. "I came to see what my stolen work looked like on someone else." Lila's eyes filled again, but the tears no longer worked the same way. "Why are you doing this to me?" she asked. I looked at the pin on her blazer. "I'm not doing anything to you. I'm taking my name out of your lie." Caleb grabbed my wrist. Not hard enough to bruise, hard enough to remind me he still believed he could stop me. I looked down at his hand, then back at him. "Let go." He did immediately, because Ms. Alvarez was watching, because donors were watching, because Caleb always behaved best under witnesses. I turned to leave behind me. Lila spoke again, low and sharp. "You think Harvard makes you untouchable." I stopped slowly. I turned. Her eyes widened. Realizing her mistake, Caleb's face went white. The donor looked between us. Ms. Alvarez's brows rose. I smiled. "You didn't know." No one spoke. I reached into my bag and removed a folded copy of my acceptance letter. Not the original, never the original. I did not hand it to Lila. I handed it to Ms. Alvarez, for the investigation file, if needed. Ms. Alvarez took it carefully. "Congratulations, Ms. Hart." The word moved through the small circle like a match dropped on dry leaves. "Congratulations, not poor Evelyn, not Caleb's fiancée, not the girl who lost her seat. Congratulations. Caleb looked at me as if seeing me from far away. Evie, he said. I stepped back before he could reach for me. No, the simplest word in English, the one I should have learned to use sooner. I left the alumni hall with Lila's insult recorded, Ms. Alvarez as a witness, and Caleb's face burned into my memory. Not guilt, not love, fear. By the time I reached my car, Miles had already received the audio file. His reply came 2 minutes later. This helps. I sat behind the wheel and watched students stream past the glass hall, laughing with their futures still intact. Mine had been attacked, not ended. I started the car that night. Whitmore Holdings sent their first legal letter. It accused me of defamation, emotional harassment, and attempting to interfere with a major corporate transaction. I read it once. Then I forwarded it to Miles. He replied with 3 words. Now they're scared. The Whitmore Holdings headquarters rose over Midtown like a glass warning. I had been there many times before, usually in a dress Diana selected, standing beside Caleb at charity launches or scholarship events while cameras clicked. The company loved using my story. Poor girl, dead father, education fund, rising through merit, engaged to the heir of a family that believed in access. It looked beautiful in brochures. It looked different when I understood I had been part of the brochure. Miles did not want me going to the headquarters alone. I did not. I went with him. June. And a printed letter confirming that any conversation involving Hart Educational Trust needed counsel present. The lobby receptionist recognized me. Her smile froze. Ms. Hart, Mr. Whitmore is expecting you. Which one? I asked. She swallowed. Mr. Richard Whitmore. Of course, Caleb had stolen from me. Diana had managed the family pressure. But Richard was the machine itself. We were brought to the 42nd floor, where the carpet was thick enough to swallow footsteps. The conference room overlooked the city. On the wall was a screen displaying the Archer Global Partnership deck, $1B Strategic Education Infrastructure Initiative. Below that, in smaller text, Community Access Partner, Hart Educational Trust. My father's name sat under their logo like a signature he had never given. Richard stood when we entered. Diana remained seated. Caleb stood near the windows, pale and sleepless. Lila was not there. Good, this room did not need her tears. Richard gestured to the chairs. Evelyn, Mr. Reed, let's speak like reasonable adults. Miles sat beside me. I stayed standing for 1 extra second, looking at the screen. Then I sat. Richard noticed. Men like him noticed everything that might become disobedience. We received your letter, he said. I assumed you did. Your concerns are misplaced. My trust's name is on your Archer materials. With prior authorization. For a scholarship event, not a billion-dollar corporate partnership. Diana leaned forward. Evelyn, this is exactly the kind of overreaction we warned you about. You are confusing a personal disappointment with a business matter. Caleb forged my withdrawal from college. Caleb flinched. Richard's expression did not change. That allegation is unproven. I have login records, admissions records, and his own recorded admission. Diana's eyes snapped to Caleb. He looked away. Richard folded his hands. Even if there was an error in judgment, I almost laughed. Fraud is not an error in judgment, Miles said calmly. Ms. Hart is here to discuss the use of Hart Educational Trust materials, not to debate the admissions investigation. Richard gave him a cold smile. Your client is very young. My client is the controlling beneficiary and authorized representative of the trust. The room went quiet. Diana's head turned slowly toward me. I knew that look. She had assumed my father's trust was sentimental, a charity story, a dead man's savings wrapped in pretty language. She had not realized he had built it carefully enough that I controlled the name when I came of age. I had not realized how much that mattered until Miles explained it. Richard recovered first. The Whitmore Foundation has elevated your father's work beyond anything he could have achieved alone. My fingers curled under the table. Miles shifted slightly, ready to intervene, but I answered. My father's work was helping students access education honestly, not stealing one student's place to reward your son's mistress. Caleb spoke for the first time. Don't call her that. I turned to him. What should I call the woman you bought jewelry for while engaged to me? His face reddened. Diana snapped. Enough. No, I said, not enough. That is the problem. Richard's voice dropped. Evelyn, you need to consider consequences. Archer is days from signing. Thousands of jobs are tied to this partnership, scholarships, infrastructure. community programs. Are you prepared to hurt all those people because your feelings were wounded? There it was again, my feelings, not my forged signature, not my stolen admission, not my father's trust, my feelings. I opened my folder and slid a document across the table. This is formal notice that Heart Educational Trust withdraws all support from the Archer Partnership pending investigation into misrepresentation, unauthorized use of trust materials, and ethical misconduct. Connected to education access, Diana inhaled sharply. Richard did not touch the paper. Caleb stepped forward. Evie, don't. The sound of my nickname in that room made something inside me close forever. You do not get to say my name like we are still on the same side. His eyes shone. I was trying to help Lila. You were trying to be a hero with my life. He shook his head. You got into Harvard. You won. I got into Harvard despite you. That is not the same as you doing no harm, Richard. Finally picked up the document. His face hardened as he read. This is reckless. No, reckless was using a dead man's trust without reading the woman who inherited it. Diana stood. You ungrateful little girl. Miles's voice cut through the room. Mrs. Whitmore, I advise you to be careful. She ignored him. Do you know how many doors this family opened for you? Do you know what your life would have looked like without Caleb? I looked at the screen again. My father's name glowed beneath theirs. No. I said, but I know what it would have looked like if Caleb had gotten his way. Smaller. Diana's face twisted. You think Harvard changes who you are? Yes, I said. She blinked. Not because of the name, because it reminded me. Caleb whispered. Reminded you of what? I gathered my folder, that I was never yours to reduce. We left the room before Richard could turn threats into proposals. In the elevator, June released a breath. Miles looked at me. You handled that well. I wanted to throw the water pitcher. That would have handled it less well. For the first time in days, I laughed. It was small, it was real. When we reached the lobby, my phone exploded. Texts from Caleb, calls from Diana, a voicemail from Richard's counsel, and one message from an unknown number. It was a photo. Lila standing outside my hotel. Below it was written, you should have stayed quiet. I showed Miles. His expression sharpened. Are you staying there tonight? No. Good. You're moving now. By sunset, I was in a different hotel under a reservation made through Miles's office. My suitcase sat by the bed. My documents were in a lockbox. I thought I would feel hunted. Instead, I felt clear. At 9:03 p.m., Archer Global's compliance director, Naomi Brooks, emailed Miles. She requested a confidential meeting. Subject line, urgent review, Heart Educational Trust withdrawal. I read it twice, then I looked out at the city lights. The Whitmores had built $1 billion mask. I had just found the seam. For years, my usefulness had been mistaken for love. I managed Caleb's calendar when his assistant missed details. I wrote his foundation speeches when he said my words sounded more human. I reminded him of his mother's birthdays, his father's donor calls, his medication after migraines, his deadlines for board packets, his thank you notes after events when he was careless. I became responsible when he was selfish. I became understanding when he was cruel. I became quiet. That ended on a Thursday morning in a bank office with grey walls and a woman named Patricia who wore red glasses and did not care who the Whitmores were. I want to revoke all shared account permissions, I said. Patricia adjusted her glasses. All authorized transfers, yes. Linked cards, yes. Recurring payments, all of them. She clicked through the account. There are several monthly transfers to Caleb Whitmore. Cancel them. There is also a scheduled payment to Monroe Consulting. My mouth went dry. How much? $5,000 monthly. I stared at the screen. Monroe, Lila Monroe. When did that start? Patricia checked. 14 months ago. 14 months. Caleb had asked me to help cover temporary consulting costs for a foundation outreach project. I had not questioned it. I remembered him kissing my forehead and saying, "You're saving me this week." I had been helping fund his mistress. Patricia looked at me gently. "Would you like printed records?" "Yes," I said, "all of them." When I left the bank, I sent the documents to Miles. His reply came quickly. "This connects Lila financially. Preserve originals." I sat in my car for several minutes. There are betrayals so large they almost become abstract. A stolen college seat, a forged email, a family's billion-dollar deception. Then there are small betrayals with dates and dollar amounts. $5,000 a month from my account to hers. My hands tightened on the steering wheel. Then I opened Caleb's contact and changed his name from Caleb to Caleb. Whitmore, the distance of a surname helped. Next, I went to the apartment. I did not tell him I was coming. The doorman looked uncomfortable when I arrived. That told me Caleb had warned the building. MS. Hart, he said. Mr. Whitmore asked to be notified if this is still my legal residence. He stepped aside. Smart man upstairs. The apartment smelled like Caleb's cologne and expensive coffee. I moved quickly. Clothes, books, documents, my grandmother's ring, a framed photo of my father, the Navy interview dress, my old notebooks I left. The engagement photos I left, the cream brunch dress I left, every gift Diana had chosen in the bathroom. My toothbrush stood beside Caleb's in a marble cup. I threw mine into a trash bag, then changed my mind and took the whole cup, dumped his toothbrush into the sink, and packed mine. Petty necessary. I was in the bedroom closet when Caleb arrived. He stood in the doorway, breathing hard. You're really doing this? I kept folding sweaters. Yes, you came here with movers, 2 movers, 1 lawyer's assistant, 1 inventory list. June waved from the hallway with a clipboard. Caleb ignored her. This is insane. No, this is organized. He stepped into the closet. I stepped back. He noticed. Pain flashed across his face. Good. Some part of him still expected access to my space, my body, my forgiveness. I wanted him to feel the locked door. Evie, he said quietly, I know I handled things badly. I laughed once. He flinched. Handled things badly. I repeated, you forged my withdrawal, gave my admission to your lover, used my bank transfers to support her, and put my father's trust on your family's billion-dollar deal. His face drained. You found the transfers. Yes, it wasn't like that. Then explain it. He opened his mouth. Nothing came out. I returned to the sweaters. Exactly. He moved closer. I was going to tell you, when, at our wedding, during the vows, I made mistakes. Stop using small words for large harm. He looked angry then. You're enjoying this. I stopped folding. Enjoying what? Having power, making everyone panic, watching my family scramble. I turned fully toward him. For years, I watched your family measure my worth by how quietly I could suffer. Now I am speaking in documents, and you call that cruelty. His throat moved. You're not the person I fell in love with. No, I said, I'm the person she should have protected. That landed for a moment. He looked almost young, the Caleb I remembered, the boy who brought coffee to debate practice, the boy who held my hand after my father's funeral, the boy I had loved before love became a leash. Then his phone rang. He looked at the screen. Lila. He declined it too quickly. I smiled sadly. You should answer. She's expensive. His eyes hardened. You don't know what she's been through. I know what I paid for. She needed help, so did I. He swallowed. You had me. There it was again. This time, it did not hurt. It sounded ridiculous. I had a man who thought he was a substitute for my future. His voice cracked. I love you. No, you loved being forgiven by me. He stepped back as if I had slapped him. Maybe truth felt that way when it arrived late. June appeared in the doorway. Evelyn, the movers are ready for the boxes. Thank you. Caleb looked at the boxes like they were evidence of a death. Where are you going? Somewhere you don't have a key. Are you staying with your mother? No. Where? I zipped the suitcase. That is no longer your information. He blocked the doorway for a second. The air changed. June's hand tightened on her clipboard. I lifted my phone. Move. Caleb. He looked at the phone, then at me, then he stepped aside again. Witnesses made him civilized. By the time the movers finished, half the apartment looked untouched. That was the strangest part. My life had occupied less space than I thought. Caleb stood by the window as I walked toward the door. Evelyn. I paused. If you walk out like this, there may be no way back. I looked at him. There isn't. His face crumpled. I left before it could matter. Downstairs, the city was loud and bright and indifferent. June helped me load the last box into the car. You okay? She asked. No, I said honestly, but I'm free enough to become okay. That afternoon, Miles forwarded Archer's meeting invitation. Naomi Brooks wanted to meet Friday at 10:00 a.m. Subject: potential ethics breach impacting partnership approval at 10:06 p.m. Diana left a voicemail. You foolish girl, you have no idea what family you are challenging. I saved it at 10:09. Richard called. I declined at 10:11. Caleb texted, please don't destroy us. I stared at the words, then I typed, you built this on what you stole from me. I did not send it. I no longer needed to teach him. I needed to win cleanly. So I forwarded the text to Miles and turned off my phone. For the first night in years, no one could reach me unless I allowed it. Diana did not cancel the engagement party. That was how I knew she was desperate. A normal family, faced with allegations of forgery, infidelity, and ethical misconduct, might pause public celebration. The Whitmores did the opposite. They sent embossed invitations, hired photographers, arranged flowers, and leaked to society blogs that Caleb Whitmore and Evelyn Hart were stronger than ever despite malicious rumors. The phrase appeared online Friday morning. Malicious rumors. I read it while sitting in Miles's conference room across from Naomi Brooks. Naomi was in her 40s, composed, sharp-eyed, and immune to charm. She wore a charcoal suit and carried a tablet full of marked documents. If Diana was silk over steel, Naomi was steel without apology. She had already reviewed the trust withdrawal. Now she wanted the timeline, so I gave it to her, not dramatically, not emotionally, just clearly. My Harrington application, the acceptance, the forged withdrawal, Lila's replacement admission, Caleb's recorded admission, the financial transfers, the use of Hart Educational Trust in Archer materials, the legal withdrawal of support. Naomi listened without interrupting. When I finished, she asked, "Did Whitmore Holdings disclose the personal relationship between Caleb Whitmore and Lila Monroe?" "No." "Did they disclose Ms. Monroe's admission as connected to any foundation initiative?" "Not to my knowledge." "Did you authorize Hart Educational Trust to be listed as an ethics partner in the final partnership deck?" "No." "Did you authorize your personal academic history to be used in Whitmore Foundation promotional materials tied to this partnership?" "I authorized one speech at one scholarship event, nothing else." Naomi nodded slowly. "This creates a significant compliance issue," Miles said. "We assumed it might. It does more than that." Naomi tapped her tablet. Archer's board approved the Whitmore partnership partly because of its education access narrative. If that narrative was built on manipulated access, undisclosed conflicts, and unauthorized trust materials, we have a duty to review. I felt the words settle. Duty to review, the polite corporate version of a door slamming. Naomi looked at me. "Ms. Hart, I need to ask directly, are you attempting to stop this deal because your engagement ended?" "No." "Then why?" "Because they used my name and my father's work to sell integrity they did not practice." She held my gaze. Then she nodded once. "I believe you." 3 words. I had not realized how hungry I was for them. Miles asked, "What happens next?" Naomi closed her tablet. "The signing dinner is still scheduled for tomorrow night. I cannot unilaterally cancel a board-level transaction today, but I can recommend a conditional hold pending disclosure." "Meaning?" I asked. "Meaning if Whitmore cannot satisfy our compliance questions before signing, Archer will pause." Miles's expression remained neutral, but I saw approval in his eyes. Naomi stood. "One more thing. Whitmore invited you to tomorrow's dinner." "Yes." "Are you attending?" I looked at Miles. He did not answer. For me that mattered. "Yes." I said, "If they want to use me as proof, they can see what proof looks like." Naomi's mouth almost curved. "Then I'll see you there." The engagement party was that evening at the Whitmore estate. I wore red, not bridal cream, not soft blue, not anything Diana could mistake for obedience. Red. Caleb was waiting near the entrance when I arrived. He looked exhausted, beautiful, and ruined in small ways only someone who once loved him would notice. His tie was slightly crooked, his hair had been touched too often. His smile appeared only when guests looked. When he saw my dress, he went still. "My mother chose cream," he said. "I know, she'll be upset." "I know." He searched my face. "Why are you here?" "Because your family told the press we were stronger than ever." He looked away. "I didn't approve that. You didn't stop it." A photographer approached. Caleb reached for my waist. I stepped aside. The camera flashed anyway, capturing the space between us. Diana appeared within seconds. Her smile was perfect. "Evelyn, red is certainly a choice. So was forgery." Her eyes flashed, but she kept smiling for the guests nearby. "Not tonight, especially tonight." She leaned closer. "You will not embarrass us." I looked over her shoulder. The room was full of donors, family friends, executives, society writers, and people who loved scandal as long as it belonged to someone else. "I think you invited embarrassment and called it a party." Diana's fingers tightened around her champagne flute. "Caleb, handle your fiancé." I turned to him. "Yes, Caleb, handle me." He looked between us for the first time. He did not know which woman to obey. That almost made me pity him almost. Then Lila walked in. The room shifted. She wore pale silver, fragile and luminous, escorted by one of Caleb's cousins. People whispered immediately. Some knew, some guessed, some simply smelled blood. Diana's face went white with fury. Lila was not supposed to be there, that was clear. Caleb moved toward her. Instinctively, publicly, and every camera saw it. I stood still. Sometimes the best evidence collected itself. Lila looked at me across the room with a small, triumphant smile. She thought her presence would break me. Instead, she had broken Diana's script. Caleb reached Lila. "What are you doing here?" he whispered. I could not hear her answer, but I saw the tears gather. Of course, within seconds, Caleb's hand was on her arm, guiding her toward a side hall. Diana hissed, "Evelyn, stop him." I looked at her. "Why would I? He is embarrassing you." "No," I said, "he is revealing himself." Diana stared at me with open hatred, then she turned and followed them. I waited 10 seconds, then I followed too. The side hall led to the library, where Caleb, Diana, and Lila stood in a triangle of accusation. "You shouldn't have come," Caleb said. Lila wiped her cheek. "You said you loved me," Diana snapped. "This is not a college dormitory drama. This is my son's engagement party." Lila's voice broke. "Then why did he give me Evelyn's seat? Why did he pay for my apartment? Why did he promise me that after the Archer deal?" Caleb grabbed her wrist. "Stop talking." I stood in the doorway. All three turned. My phone was in my hand, recording. Caleb let go of Lila as if burned. Diana's face hardened. "You little snake." I smiled. "Careful. People only love good girls." Her eyes widened. She recognized the phrase from the note under my hotel door. Good. Now I knew who sent it. I saved the recording and stepped back. Into the party, a waiter passed with champagne. I took one glass, not to drink, but to place beside the engagement ring I removed from my finger at the center table. The diamond caught the light. People noticed. Whispers moved outward. Caleb came out of the hallway moments later and saw the ring. His face changed. "Evelyn." I lifted my glass. The room quieted enough, not fully enough. "To everyone who came tonight," I said, "thank you for celebrating what was supposed to be a future." Diana moved fast. "Evelyn," I looked at her, "don't worry, I'm not making a speech." Then I placed the untouched champagne down beside the ring. "I'm ending one." I walked out before anyone could clap, cry, or stop me. Behind me, Caleb shouted my name. This time, half the room heard the panic in it. The morning after the engagement party, 3 things happened before breakfast. First, a society blog posted a blurry photo of Caleb holding Lila's arm in the library hallway. Second, Whitmore Holdings issued a statement, calling the incident a private family misunderstanding. Third, Archer Global requested an emergency compliance packet from Miles. The third mattered most. Scandal was noise, compliance was consequence. Miles, June, and I spent the day building the packet like a legal spine. Every document had to be clean, every timestamp clear, every claim supported. No adjectives, no revenge language, no dramatic accusations, just facts arranged so tightly the Whitmores could not slip between them. Page 1, Heart. Educational Trust Authorization Limits. Page 2, Whitmore Partnership Materials naming the trust beyond those limits. Page 3, My Harrington Acceptance. Page 4, The Forged Withdrawal Email. Page 5, Login Activity from Caleb's apartment. Page 6, My Dispute Report. Page 7, Lila's Replacement Timeline. Page 8, Caleb's Recorded Statement. Page 9, Lila's recorded statement at the reception. Page 10, Bank transfers to Monroe Consulting. Page 11, Engagement party recording. Page 12, The threatening hotel note. With Diana's verbal echo, Miles reviewed the final file in silence. Then he said, "This is strong. I was too tired to enjoy that. What happens if Archer pauses? Whitmore loses immediate signing. Depending on contract terms, they may lose exclusivity. Investors will ask why. Partners will question governance. Richard will have to explain. And Caleb," Miles looked at me carefully, "Caleb may face civil liability, possibly more if Harrington or law enforcement pursues identity misuse." I stared at the stack. I thought hearing that would satisfy me. It did not. There was no joy in seeing the outline of someone's downfall when you had once imagined marrying him. There was only the grim relief of a door closing from the correct side. At 4:00 p.m., Naomi joined by secure video. Her face was unreadable as Miles walked through the packet. She asked precise questions. Can Ms. Hart confirm she did not approve the withdrawal? Yes, I said. Can she confirm the trust did not authorize use in the final Archer materials? Yes. Can she confirm Caleb Whitmore had access to her account? Yes. Can she confirm the transfers to Monroe Consulting were made under representations unrelated to Ms. Monroe personally? Yes. Naomi paused. Ms. Hart, did anyone from Whitmore Holdings pressure you to remain publicly engaged after you discovered these issues? I thought of Diana's command, Caleb's warning, Richard's consequences, the engagement party. Yes. Do you have evidence? Miles clicked play. Diana's voice filled the room. You will not embarrass us. Then Lila's. Why did he give me Evelyn's seat? Why did he pay for my apartment? Why did he promise me that after the Archer deal? Then Caleb. Stop talking. Naomi closed her eyes briefly. When she opened them, the decision was already there. I will recommend a signing hold. My body went still. Miles said. When? Tomorrow evening. If Whitmore cannot provide satisfactory disclosures before the dinner, they won't, I said. Naomi looked at me. No, I don't believe they will. After the call, I sat alone in Miles's conference room. The city outside was turning gold with sunset. My phone buzzed. A message from my mother. Diana says you can still fix this. Please don't make enemies you can't survive. I closed my eyes. Then another message. I saw the Harvard letter. Your father would be proud. I am scared. But I know he would be proud. I read that one 3 times. Then I replied, I'm scared too. But I'm not going back. Her answer came slowly. I know it was not a full apology. It was not full courage, but it was the first time she had not asked me to shrink. I saved the message. That evening, Caleb came to Miles's office. He should not have known I was there. Maybe he followed me. Maybe someone at the building called him. Maybe Whitmore money still opened too many doors. June told him he could not enter. He entered anyway. I was in the reception area, signing final courier receipts. He stopped when he saw me. His eyes were red, not from tears. I thought from not sleeping. We need to talk, he said. My attorney is here. I don't want to talk to your attorney. That's why he exists. He looked around the office, humiliated by the witnesses. Please, he said. The word was small. I hated that it still touched some old bruise in me. Miles appeared in the hallway. Mr. Whitmore. Caleb ignored him. Evie. Archer is asking questions. My father is furious. My mother says you're trying to ruin us. I'm trying to separate my name from your lies. You know what happens if this deal collapses? Yes, people lose jobs, because your family built a deal on false ethics. His face twisted. You sound like a press release. No, I said. I sound like someone who learned to be precise because you kept calling the truth drama. He stepped closer. Miles moved too. Caleb stopped. I loved you, he said. I believed that he believed it. That was the tragedy. I loved you too, I said. Hope flashed across his face. I finished. That is why I know exactly how much you chose to betray. The hope died. He swallowed. Lila meant nothing. I almost smiled. That makes it worse. How? You destroyed my life for someone who meant nothing. He had no answer. Behind him, the office door opened. Naomi Brooks walked in with 2 Archer attorneys. Caleb turned. Recognition hit him like a slap. Naomi, he said. She looked from him to me. Mr. Whitmore, I wasn't aware you were part of this meeting. He stepped back. I was just leaving. For once, he understood the room was not his. Naomi's attorneys carried folders. Miles gestured them inside as Caleb passed me. He whispered, don't go tomorrow. I looked at him. Why? His voice broke. Because if you're there, I'll know it's really over. For 1 second, the boy I had loved stood in front of me. Then I remembered my name on a forged email. It was over at 9:17 p.m. on April 12th, I said. His face collapsed. I walked into the conference room and closed the door. The Archer signing dinner was held at the Carlisle Grand Hotel, in a ballroom with crystal chandeliers and a stage built for applause. Whitmore Holdings had spared no expense. That was their style. When truth became dangerous, they added flowers. There were white orchids on every table, gold menus at every plate, and a 30-foot screen behind the stage displaying the partnership logo. Cameras lined the back wall. Reporters waited near the entrance. Executives circulated with champagne and smiles sharp enough to cut glass. I arrived with Miles, not Caleb, not my mother, not anyone who could be mistaken for a shield. I wore navy, the same dress I had bought years earlier for interviews. It fit better now. Or maybe I finally fit myself. The room noticed me, whispers moved first, then stares, then phones. Diana saw me from across the ballroom. Her smile did not move, but her eyes did. Richard stood beside an Archer board member, speaking with the calm confidence of a man who had not yet accepted gravity. Caleb was near the stage. He looked at me and forgot whatever sentence he was saying for a moment. Neither of us moved. Then he started toward me. Miles murmured, "Do you want me to intercept?" "No." Caleb stopped in front of me. "You came." "Yes." "You shouldn't have. I was invited. My father thought you wouldn't dare. Your father often mistakes arrogance for analysis." Caleb closed his eyes briefly. "Please don't do this here. This is where your family chose to use my name." He lowered his voice. "Archer hasn't made a final decision. There is still time to resolve this privately." "Resolve? We can issue a correction. Lila can withdraw from Harrington. My family can remove the trust from the materials. We can fix it." I stared at him. He was offering repairs only after the house was burning. "Where was this urgency when you signed my name?" His face tightened. "I was wrong." "Yes, I'll say it publicly if you want." "No, you don't want an apology." I wanted one before it became strategy. That silenced him. Unstage, Richard tapped the microphone. The ballroom quieted. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, "tonight marks a historic step forward for education access, innovation, and community investment." The words rolled out smoothly. He thanked Archer, he thanked donors, he thanked his family, then he said my name. "And I want to personally acknowledge Evelyn Hart, whose story and whose late father's trust have inspired so much of our mission." A spotlight shifted onto me. The room turned. Caleb whispered, "Dad, don't." But Richard smiled, confident he could pull me into the performance. "Evelyn," he said warmly, "would you join us for a photograph before we sign?" There it was, the trap if I refused. I looked bitter if I joined. I looked supportive a year ago. I would have walked up there and smiled until my face hurt that night. I walked up there for a different reason. Miles followed to the edge of the stage. Richard extended a hand. I did not take it. A murmur passed through the ballroom. Diana's face went rigid. Richard kept smiling. "Evelyn." I stepped to the microphone. "Thank you." "Richard." His smile faltered. I looked out at the room. Rows of powerful people stared back. Investors, reporters, executives, donors, people who had applauded my story when it made them feel generous. Now they could hear the rest. I was asked to stand here tonight as proof of Whitmore Holdings' commitment to education access. I said, but I cannot allow my name, or my father's trust, to be used that way without the truth. Richard reached for the microphone. Miles stepped forward. Naomi Brooks stood from the Archer table. Richard froze. "Good," I continued. "My admission to Harrington College's Global Leadership Program was withdrawn without my consent through my registered email account. That withdrawal created the opening through which another applicant, Lila Monroe, entered the program. Caleb Whitmore, my former fiancé, has admitted to handling that withdrawal." The room erupted. "Former fiancé." I had not planned the wording but once said, it stood like a wall. Caleb's face went white. Diana gripped the edge of her table. Richard's voice cut in. "This is a private matter and not relevant to tonight's transaction." Naomi walked toward the stage. "Archer Global disagrees." The ballroom went silent. Naomi took the second microphone from a stunned event coordinator. "Archer Global has received credible documentation raising concerns about unauthorized use of Hart educational trust materials, undisclosed conflicts of interest, and possible misrepresentation in the partnership's social responsibility disclosures." Richard's smile vanished. "This is highly irregular." "So are the documents," Naomi said. Someone gasped. Reporters moved closer. Camera lights brightened. Naomi looked at the room. "Effective immediately. Archer Global is placing the Whitmore partnership under compliance hold. No agreement will be signed tonight." The screen behind us still displayed the billion-dollar partnership logo. It looked suddenly absurd, like a crown on a corpse. Richard turned to me. His voice was low enough that only those near the stage could hear. "You have no idea what you've done." I looked at him. "I removed my father's name from your lie." Diana rushed toward Caleb. "Do something." But Caleb stood motionless. He was staring at the folder in my hand. I opened it, not for the whole room, for him. On top was the Harvard acceptance letter. His mouth parted. "You really got in?" "Yes, you didn't tell me. You taught me to protect good news from people who might ruin it." Pain moved across his face. "Evie, I stepped back. My name is Evelyn. That hurt him more than I expected. Good, names mattered. He had signed mine away. Now he did not get the softened version. A reporter called out, "Ms. Hart, are you saying your fiancé stole your college admission?" Miles moved in smoothly. "Ms. Hart will not be answering questions tonight. Formal statements will be provided through counsel." Richard was surrounded now by Archer attorneys, Whitmore executives, and panicked staff. Diana was speaking sharply into her phone. Lila had appeared near a side entrance, pale and shaking, realizing the world she thought she had entered was cracking under her feet. Caleb walked toward me. Miles blocked him. "Let him," I said. Miles stepped aside. Barely. Caleb stopped close enough for me to smell his cologne. "I never thought it would go this far," he whispered. "That was the problem." I said, "You never thought about how far my life mattered." His eyes filled. "I can fix Harrington. I don't want Harrington. I can get Lila to withdraw. This was never only about the seat. I'll tell everyone it was me." Too late. He swallowed hard. "Do you still love me?" The cruelty of that question almost made me laugh. Not because it was heartless, because it was human, because part of him truly believed love was a hidden emergency exit. I looked at the man I had planned to marry. "Yes," I said quietly. Hope shattered across his face. I finished, but not enough to betray myself. Then I walked off the stage. Behind me, the signing dinner dissolved into chaos. Calls, cameras, statements, whispers. The billion-dollar deal had not died in one explosion. It had been stopped by a folder, a woman's name, and the simple refusal to smile beside thieves outside the ballroom. I stopped near a mirror for a second. I did not recognize myself. Then I did, and that was better. The next morning, Whitmore Holdings lost 18% in pre-market confidence. By noon, Archer Global released a formal statement confirming an indefinite suspension of partnership negotiations pending independent review. By 3, Harrington College announced an internal investigation into unauthorized admissions activity and donor influence. By sunset, Lila Monroe's admission status was frozen. The world did not end. That surprised me. 4 years, the Whitmores had trained everyone around them to believe that their discomfort was catastrophe. If Diana was embarrassed, the room had to adjust. If Richard was displeased, people lowered their voices. If Caleb was torn, I was expected to bleed quietly so he could feel kind. But the sun rose after the deal paused. People bought coffee, traffic moved, students went to class. The city remained unimpressed by Whitmore pain. I spent most of the day in Miles's office giving formal statements. Harrington's investigator called first, then Archer's outside counsel, then a detective from the Financial Crimes Unit, referred by the admissions office after identity misuse concerns. Each conversation was careful, each answer mattered. No exaggeration, no revenge, no drama, just truth. Yes, Caleb Whitmore had access to my device. No, I did not authorize the withdrawal. Yes, I disputed it immediately after learning of it. Yes, I can provide the original bank records. No, I did not authorize Hart Educational Trust for the Archer transaction. By evening, my voice was tired. My resolve was not. Miles ordered sandwiches none of us wanted. June ate half of hers while organizing evidence tabs. I stared at my phone, which had become a museum of collapse. Diana had called 19 times. Richard, 7 unknown numbers, 12 my mother, 3 Caleb. Once, only once. That was what made me answer when he called again at 8:41 p.m. Miles looked up. "You don't have to." "I know." I put it on speaker. Caleb's voice was quiet. "Evelyn." I said nothing. "My father resigned from the Archer steering committee." Still nothing. "My mother says you planned this from the beginning." "No," I said. "You planned it. I documented it." He exhaled. "Lila is being investigated. She should be. She says she didn't know the withdrawal was forged. Do you believe her?" Silence. Then, "I don't know what I believe anymore." That sounded honest. It also sounded useless. "I do," I said. His breath caught. "I believe you used me. I believe she benefited. I believe your family protected the lie until the lie threatened money. I believe I would have been married into that lie if I had stayed quiet." "Evie." "Evelyn." A pause. "Evelyn, I'm sorry." The words arrived soft and late. Once, I had imagined them saving us. Caleb at my door, eyes wet, voice shaking, finally choosing me. I had replayed that fantasy through small humiliations, missed calls, strange hotel receipts, Diana's insults, And every moment I felt myself becoming less. Now the apology came and nothing in me moved toward it. What are you sorry for? I asked. He sounded confused. For everything. No, choose. What? You took specific things. Name them. His voice broke. I'm sorry. I used your account. And, I'm sorry I withdrew your admission. And, I'm sorry I gave Lila the opening. And, I'm sorry I lied about her. And, he was crying now, quietly, for the first time, not beautifully. I'm sorry I let my family use you. And, the silence stretched. Then he whispered, I'm sorry I thought you would stay. There it was, the truest apology, not for the crime, for the miscalculation. I closed my eyes. Thank you for finally saying something honest. Can I see you? No, please, no, I'll do anything. You can cooperate with the investigations. I mean for us. There is no us. He made a sound like he had been hit. Don't say that. You ended us when you decided my future was negotiable. I was scared. Of what? Losing Lila, disappointing my family, losing control. I don't know. Were you scared of losing me? He did not answer fast enough. That was answer enough. I nodded, though he could not see me. Goodbye, Caleb. Wait, I still love you. I looked at the folder on the table, the forged email, the bank transfers, the trust documents, the Harvard letter. No, I said, you love the version of me who made your life easier. That's not true. It is, and she is gone. I ended the call. Miles said nothing. June pretended not to wipe her eyes. I placed the phone face down. It rang again immediately. I did not answer. The next day, Lila tried to speak publicly. She posted a video from what looked like a dorm room. Face bare, eyes red. I was manipulated too, she said. I trusted someone I loved. I never meant to hurt anyone. The internet did what it always did. Split, argued, chose angles. Some believed her, some did not. Then the bank records leaked, not from me, from someone inside Whitmore Holdings, according to Miles. Maybe an employee tired of Richard, maybe a board member protecting themselves, maybe the truth finally found another exit. The transfers to Monroe Consulting became public, so did photos of Lila and Caleb from hotel lobbies, restaurants, and foundation events. Her video disappeared within an hour. Harrington suspended her pending review. Caleb was removed from Whitmore Foundation's Youth Access Initiative. Diana stopped calling. Richard's lawyers did not. My mother came to see me 3 days later. She arrived at Miles's office holding a paper bag of soup, because mothers sometimes apologize in food before words. I should have believed you faster, she said. I accepted the soup. Yes, she flinched, then nodded. I was afraid. I know, that doesn't excuse it. No, tears filled her eyes. I let them make me think safety was the same as surrender. I looked at her then, really looked. She seemed smaller than I remembered, not weak, worn. I thought if you married Caleb, nobody could hurt you the way life hurt me after your father died, she whispered. Caleb hurt me. I know, she cried this time. I let her. When she reached for my hand, I gave it, not because everything was fixed, because she had finally stopped asking me to go back. The final legal blow came 1 week later. Archer Global terminated the partnership discussions completely. The internal statement cited undisclosed conflicts, reputational risk, and failure to meet ethics disclosure standards. $1 billion vanished from the Whitmore future, not because I shouted, because I signed one withdrawal of support, because I refused one photograph, because I stopped being useful to people who called usefulness love. That night, Caleb came to my building. I saw him through the lobby glass before he saw me. Rain darkened his coat, his hair was soaked. He held no flowers, no ring, no grand gesture, just himself. Too late. I stepped outside under the awning. He looked up. Evelyn, what do you want? To see you before you leave. I had not told him my flight date. He saw the question in my face. Your mother told mine. My mother told me. Of course. Some chains broke slowly. I fly tomorrow, I said. He nodded. Harvard. Yes. He tried to smile. Failed. I used to think I'd be proud telling people my wife went there. I said nothing. He looked at me with raw regret. I don't know who I am without the life my family planned. That's something you should find out. I wanted you in it. No, you wanted me under it. He closed his eyes. The rain fell harder. I deserve that. You do. He laughed once. Broken. I kept thinking you would forgive me, even at the dinner, even when you walked on stage. Some part of me thought you were doing it to make me choose you. I looked at him for a long time. Caleb, I stopped wanting to be chosen by a man who needed my pain explained to him. His face crumpled. I'm sorry, I know, does it matter? Yes, I said, but not enough to change anything. He nodded slowly for the first time. He did not argue. I removed the engagement ring box from my coat pocket. Miles had returned it after inventory. I had not opened it since the party. I handed it to Caleb. His hand shook as he took it. I don't want this, he said. Neither do I. He looked at the box like it weighed more than the rain. Will you ever think of me? Yes, hope flickered. I finished. As the reason I learned not to abandon myself. The hope died, but this time, he let it. I went back inside. The glass doors closed between us. He remained in the rain. I went upstairs and packed the last of my books. Airports are full of people leaving before they are ready. I arrived early anyway. My mother came with me. She did not cry until we reached security. Then she cried quietly, with one hand pressed to her mouth, as if she was trying not to make her fear my burden. I'm proud of you, she said. I believed her. That was new. Thank you. I'm still scared. Me too. But your father would be insufferable right now, she said, wiping her face. He would be telling every stranger in this airport that his daughter got into Harvard. I laughed. The sound surprised us both. Then she hugged me. For once, she did not hold me like she was afraid I would leave her behind. She held me like she was sending me forward. At the gate, I checked my phone one last time before boarding. An email from Miles. Harrington confirmed your withdrawal was unauthorized. Formal correction entered. Lila Monroe removed pending final review. Investigation continues. Another from Harvard Housing. Welcome. Evelyn Hart. Another from Archer's Outside Counsel. Thank you for your cooperation. No messages from Caleb. That helped, or maybe it hurt. Cleanly. The flight to Boston was quiet. I did not sleep. I watched clouds move beneath the plane and thought about the girl I had been when Caleb first loved me. 17. Grieving. Brilliant but unsure. Hungry for warmth. So grateful when a rich boy looked at her like she was not a burden. I did not hate her. For a while. I had wanted to shake her and ask why she gave away passwords, weekends, money, ambition, voice. Why she let Diana correct her clothes. Why she let Caleb call control concern. Why she mistook being needed for being loved. But on that plane, I forgave her. She had survived with the tools she had. I had better ones now. When I landed, Boston was bright and cold. A rideshare took me through streets lined with brick buildings, bookstores, coffee shops, and students carrying too many bags. The driver asked if I was visiting. No, I said, looking out the window. I'm starting. Harvard Yard was crowded when I arrived. Tourists took photos. Students crossed paths without noticing history under their feet. Trees moved in the wind like they had seen every kind of hope before and would not be impressed until I did the work. Good. I did not need a place to worship me. I needed a place that would demand I become honest. At housing check-in, a student volunteer handed me a key. Welcome, Evelyn. My name, spoken casually, correctly. No one attached it to Caleb. No one said Whitmore. No one called me the future daughter-in-law of anyone. Just Evelyn. My room was small. Smaller than the Whitmore apartment closet. White walls, a narrow bed, a wooden desk, a window overlooking a courtyard where someone had abandoned a red scarf on a bench. I placed my suitcase on the bed. Then I opened the box with my father's photo, his fountain pen, and the original Harvard letter. I set the photo on the desk, the fountain pen beside it, the letter under the lamp. Then I took out a simple paper name card from the housing packet. Evelyn Hart. I slid it into the holder on the door. For a long time, I stood there looking at it, my own name on my own door. My phone buzzed, a message from an unknown number. I knew before opening it. Caleb, I changed my number. I won't contact you again after this. I just wanted to say I saw the Harrington correction. You deserved all of it. Harvard too. I'm sorry I tried to make your life smaller. I hope you never let anyone do that again. I read it once, then again. There was a time when that message would have pulled me backward. I would have searched it for proof. Proof that he loved me. Proof that he finally understood. Proof that maybe pain could be refunded if the apology was sincere enough. But apologies do not rebuild stolen time. They do not unforge names. They do not return the version of you that learned to flinch. Still, I did not hate him in that moment. That felt like another kind of freedom. I typed one reply, I won't. Then I blocked the number. Outside, students laughed in the hallway. Someone knocked on the open door. A girl with short curls and a stack of textbooks smiled. Hey, you're Evelyn. Right, I'm Maya from across the hall. A few of us are getting coffee. Want to come? For 1 second, Instinct moved in me, check with Caleb, ask if it was okay, think about what someone else needed. Then the instinct faded. I looked back at my father's photo, then at my name on the door. Yes, I said, I'd like that. I grabbed my coat as I stepped into the hallway. Sunlight cut through the window at the end, bright and ordinary, no music swelled, no man waited to reward me, no family name opened the door. I opened it myself, and for the first time in years, the future in front of me did not feel like a room someone else had decorated. It felt unfinished, it felt mine.